following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
It's time for Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. Angela and Howard talk about what's new in real estate and answer your buying and selling questions. To participate in today's show, call 222-TALK. That's 222-8255. And now, here are Angela and Howard.
Hey, everybody. Good morning on this beautiful Saturday. It is so hot out already. And today, we're going to be doing an open house, and I hear it's going to feel like 104.
Well,
like,
I think you're going to be inside, so you're going to feel like it's probably 74, because that's what you're going to set the air conditioner at, right?
Well, whatever they have it at, it's fine. But yes, I will be inside enjoying the air conditioning.
And it's a beautiful home. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Just came on the market yesterday. We're probably going to sell it today. It's one of those houses that, you know, it looks good, it's priced right, and it's beautiful. And it's great for a big family because it has 5 bedrooms, possibly 6. But we'll tell everybody about it later.
Well, you know what I like about it?
You got this big grin on your face.
No, I was just thinking about the house and how pretty it is, and that it's got a pretty view of the water. You know, it's lakefront. And that I was thinking about, it has Brazilian soapstone countertops.
Yeah,
so,
in the kitchen. Yeah,
you know, everybody's talking about quartz this and granite that. This is soapstone. This is pretty cool.
It really is
pretty cool.
One of those big sinks. Yes. And every kitchen cabinet has pull-out
shelves. So you don't have to, like, hurt your back or anything, you know, bending down to get your stuff out of the cabinets. The shelves just come out. You can see everything easy. Push the shelf back. Same thing in the pantry. Yeah. Super simple house in that way where it's, you know, good for your lifestyle.
So the house was built in 99, but so many things have been updated in the last 3 years.
Brand new master bath. I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot.
But we'll tell everybody about it later.
Yeah.
Although we told a lot about it already.
That's all right.
Anyway, we want to welcome everybody. We hope you all had a great week. We met a lot of great people this week. Had another very interesting home inspection that we're going to tell you all about a little bit later in the show. Yep. And we're going to do something a little bit different because we want people to call in and give their opinions about the home inspection. And you may think, why do you want people to call in about a home inspection? Because it's a little bit of quandary with the seller and the buyer on what they should do, what they should have done. So we want to get everybody's opinion, whether you're a realtor or whether you're a prospective buyer, a prospective seller. Just give us your opinion. So we'll get to that a little bit later.
But let me clarify that we actually already have an opinion. We're not seeking opinions because we don't know what the right thing is. You said quandary. It's not a quandary for us.
No, it's not a quandary for us, but there are different opinions as to what some people may want to do, whether they're the buyer or the seller. So it's kind of interesting.
I just don't want anyone to think you don't actually know the answer to a question.
Well, the answer may be different because it depends on whether you're the buyer or the seller and what price you want to pay and you know, maybe how much you owe on the property. And you know, there's just a lot of factors in this particular one. So we just want to get everybody's opinion. It's really kind of interesting. So we're going to do that in the second segment of the show. But in the meantime, I want to tell everybody that we, of course, are your problem-solving realtors on the radio. And we come to you every Saturday morning for the last 5.5 years to tell you what's going on in real estate here in Northeast Florida. And, of course, this is meant to be a question and answer show. So if you do have a question, what number to call, Angela?
222-TALK. To me, you have to call 222-TALK. TALK, which is 8255, and that's area code 904.
Right. So if people that are out of the local area can call. We do have listeners that are around, normally the East Coast. We don't have too many people on the Midwest or the West Coast because it's a lot earlier there.
Speaking of East Coast girls, there's someone in New York who sent me a text saying they're listening. So I had to say, good morning, Rhonda.
All right. So this is our way of giving back to the community. That's why we want people to call. By the way, we want you to be the best prepared listener or buyer that you can be. And remember, not only do we give advice about real estate, but also we come in contact with a lot of great vendors. So if you ever have a need for that, give us a call and we can certainly help with that. So, Angela, we always start out the show with information about what happened this week in the local area. So, how were things this week? We're coming off, but before you do that, the week before had the highest number of new listings ever in 5.5 years.
That's correct.
Yeah. So what happened this week? How did it go?
Okay. Well, according to the Northeast Florida Multiple Listing Service, this past week for homes and condominiums, 752 offers got accepted. And that number is down 7% from the previous week.
Still a great number.
Oh, yeah. 797 new homes came on the market. And that's the number you were comparing to, Howard. So that's compared to 955 or something, wasn't it? Excuse me. And that number is down 17% from the previous week. Now, 174 of those 797, that's 20% in case you're counting, they're already under contract. So, you know, yeah, right? So the first week, 20% went under contract. 52 of those went under contract on the first day, and 654 of you actually closed on a home for yourself.
So we say what?
Congratulations.
Yeah. And Alan comes in, of course, with that applause. Alan is our producer who does a great job for us every week. So applause to you. You're giving yourself applause, right, Alan? You know, you're allowed to come on the radio and say hi. You know that, right?
Hi, Howard. You cracked me up earlier.
I did. Huh?
Yeah, you did. You walked into the studio, gave me this weird look, and it's like, oh, okay.
I was just going to tell you that we don't have a contest today because we got so many other interesting things to talk about. By the way, what are we going to talk about the rest of the day? Well, right now we're going to talk about how did interest rates do? You know, at the beginning of the year, we heard that the prime rate was going to go way up and interest rates for mortgages were expected to go up, between 0.5 point and 1 point. They didn't, but they've been going up and down. What did they do this past week, Angela? Well,
here's what happened.
Yes.
The average 30-year rate, well, it fell 0.04% to 3.92%. So you can get a 30-year mortgage for less than 4%. I love that. That's cheap money to me. Now, this time last year, it was 3.48%. So that was less. So we're up, but we are still at great, great rates. If you're thinking about buying, get off the fence. Let me tell you about the 15-year rate. That one fell 0.03 point to 3.2%. That's good money, too. This time last year, it was 2.78%, so it's higher. The VA and the FHA 30-year rate, well, it rose back to where it was the week prior, going up 0.1 point to 3.75%. I think that's a good place for that to sit, don't you?
I think so.
I think so, too. Now, there's always the 5-year adjustable rate mortgage, what they call the ARM, and that is still a fabulous deal if you only intend to be in your home for 5 years. That rate, it fell also 0.03 point to 3.18%. And last year, it was 2.78.
So 3.18, oh my God, that is like dirt cheap. That's like free money.
Well, it's not free.
Because there's so many people that don't stay in a house more than 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, the people that get transferred here and they expect to be transferred again, or people that buy a house and they know that they're only going to be in 5 years because they want a bigger house later on because they know they're going to make more money.
Yeah.
Get the adjustable rate mortgage. The important thing is talk to a mortgage professional about your specific situation. It may not be in your best interest to get a 30-year conventional loan. It may be in your best interest to get a 15-year. It may be in your best interest to get a 5-year adjustable rate mortgage.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Talk to, one of our sponsors is Tim McConnell of CMG Financial, and he can give you that type of advice.
He's so sweet. He's so easy to work with. He did my loan.
He did. Yeah, he and his wife Kate worked together, and you can talk to them. By the way, we're going to talk about lots of interesting stuff today. We got a tip on hurricane season, and when we come back after the show, we're going to do that interesting home inspection discussion, and it's about a real case. So stay with us, everybody. Call us with your questions. We'll be right back. Hey, WBOB listeners, it's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I don't just do the radio show, we are active realtors. When it's time to buy, we will interview you to determine your specific housing needs. Distance to work, style of home, school needs, distance to place of worship, kids' activities, lifestyles, number of bedrooms, budget, and so much more. In short, we do our very best to find you your perfect home. We won't waste your time showing you houses that don't fit your needs. Whether you're moving up, moving into your first home, or now an empty nester, you can trust us for the most important purchase of your life. It's what we do. It's what we'll do for you. Experience the Angela and Howard Team Advantage. Call us at 421-7950.
Is there something going wrong with your garage door or opener? My name is Peter, and I am the owner of Quality Door Service. And my basic garage door repair starts at just $125, and that includes parts. Included with your repair, I will instruct you about fire and safety, protection from hurricane and burglary, and maintenance on your garage door. Call me today at 588-4817. That's 588-4817. Angela and Howard did.
There's finally a mortgage lender in Jacksonville that sees financing differently. With 20 years' experience, CMG Financial understands that the most important purchase in your life, your home, deserves the right mortgage. Tim McConnell at CMG Financial will work to customize the best financing option for you. Angela and I recommend CMG Financial to all our customers. Give Tim a call at 528-2103. That's 528-2103. CMG Financial is a registered trade name of CMG Mortgage, Inc., NMLS number 1820, and licensed as a mortgage lender servicer by the Office of Financial Regulation, number MLD 375, individual MLS number 181046.
Are you buying a property being sold by HUD? As a buyer, you can select Watson Title Services of North Florida as your settlement agent. Avoid having to deal with out-of-town companies, and make sure you get the world-class customer service of Watson Title Services that Angela and Howard have come to expect. Call them at 461-3220 when you're looking at buying a HUD property to ensure your purchase goes through as smoothly as possible. That's 461-3220. Angela and Howard do. This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by CMG Financial. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Welcome back, everybody. We're so excited to be here today on this gorgeous Saturday.
What do you mean you're sorry you're laughing?
Because you shouldn't be laughing when you come back from station break. But you know what? We're always having fun here.
That's right.
We are, because that's what we do.
Hey, if you want to see what goes on here in the studio, go to our website, angelandhoward.com, and you'll see what the studio looks like, and you'll see a picture of Angela and our other realtor on our team, Rob, and me, and what the studio looks like. So you may want to do that. Also shows lots of other things.
They can't see how much fun we're having, though.
No, but you don't have a smile on your face for the picture?
Probably did.
Okay, we're going to talk about a home inspection that occurred this week, and a very interesting, not a chain of events, but an interesting set of circumstances. So last week we told you an interesting story about the results of a home inspection. So this is another one. You know, we tell you these stories not just because we think that they are interesting, but because someday you may be either a buyer or a seller, and they can be learning experience for both sides of the transaction, meaning the buyer or the seller.
Yes, absolutely.
So Angela and I always recommend that the buyer invest in a home inspection. And we do mean invest, because the report can not only tell you if something is wrong, but it can also determine the remaining life of items such as the air conditioner or the roof. It can even check out things that the buyer has told you on the seller's disclosure. Now, the seller's disclosure is what we use is a 5-page document that asks specific questions of the seller. He can say yes or no, and then delineate what some of those, yeses or nos are, like if there are specific problems. And remember that oftentimes the seller may not be aware of a problem with their own house. Like they don't go up in the attic and see things, and they might not notice things behind a refrigerator or behind a stove, or they might not look, inside behind a kitchen cabinet. By the way, a home inspector will always find something wrong. And it may be something really minor, such as, a plug behind a sofa that doesn't work or a dripping faucet. He's going to find something.
Can I add something about?
Oh, of course you can.
Okay, so the one thing I want to add has to do with the seller's property disclosure, right?
Yeah.
So when we go to people's homes and we talk to them about completing this document, we're very careful to say, put as much information as you can remember, check your facts before you say anything about your home. The seller's disclosure, as you mentioned, is 5 pages. It talks about the appliances. It talks about swimming pools. It talks about the survey. Are there any encroachments? It talks about the roof. How old is it? When was the last time one was put on? Has there been any damage to it? It talks about air conditioners. How many do you have? How old are they? What brand are they? It goes on and on. It talks about, is there anything that you know about the property that could affect the value of the property? It asks if there's a termite bond. Have you ever had termites? So it really does attempt to provide a clear history of what the seller knows about their home. But I'm always clear with the seller when I advise them that if they don't remember the details, to write, I don't know.
Correct.
Because this is a document that a buyer can then use against a seller, right? So you don't want to say, oh, it was about 5 years ago. No, what was the date? Get in the month at least. It was August or whatever. Because if something is reported incorrectly, the buyer might decide that they feel duped and that they were taken advantage of. And had they known something that was the correct information, maybe they would have had a different inspection. Maybe they wouldn't have bought the house. It's a very telling document, but it also is one that is, from the seller's perspective, something that they need to make sure is accurate in case they get sued, because a buyer could sue them for false statements.
Well, if you don't know the exact date that something happened, you could say it occurred sometime between 3 and 5 years ago. That's a truthful statement.
It can be if that's the truth. But, sometimes, I've certainly been in a lot of homes in my 20 years career here that people just say, I don't know, it's about 5 years ago. Can I just write that? No. If you want to say 3 to 5 years and give it a little more play, then okay. But, again, this is a document that a buyer can sue you over because this is your statement about your home, and no one should know more about your home than you do.
Okay. And then there's a catch-all question. Is there anything else you think the buyer will want to know about your house that will affect the value or desirability of the home?
Yes.
Now, that's an interesting one. By the way, in the state of Florida, now, this is not true in all states, but in the state of Florida, there is no law or regulation that requires the seller to complete a seller's disclosure.
Yes.
Okay.
And part of the reason, like an attorney would probably say, don't fill one out. And the reason is just what I'm saying, because you might not remember, you might not have the facts correct, and it's a document you could get sued over.
But generally speaking, here in Jacksonville, virtually all sellers complete a seller's disclosure if it is listed with a realtor. All right, so let's get back to the story. So as I said, by the way, the home inspector will virtually always find something, and it may be minor. Now, sometimes the seller will have their home inspected prior to putting the home on the market, and then they fix the item ahead of time. This allows them to more reliably price the home, hopefully knowing that all of the flaws have been taken care of before the buyer does their own inspection. This prevents any uh-ohs especially after the purchase price has already been agreed upon between the buyer and the seller. So here's the story. So everybody pay attention to the story and think about what you might do, whether you're the buyer or the seller. So here's the story. A beautiful 3,000 square foot 2-story home with wood siding built in the early 1900s. Okay? Gorgeous home. It had inlaid wood flooring, some stained glass windows. Now, the seller had lived there for about 15 years and had spent tens of thousands of dollars on upgrades and additions over the years. He had put on a new roof, some new windows, put on a garage, updated the lighting, put on decking, put on some new wiring, revarnished the wood flooring, and other items. They seem to really show a lot of love to this home.
Absolutely.
Really,
Gorgeous
really
home.
did.
Yep.
They priced the home fairly high for the house based on the way it looked, because it looked gorgeous. But it was fairly high for the neighborhood. Now, the buyers loved the house and put in a good offer, believing that the house was in great shape. Now, normally for a home, there are 2 inspections that are done. There's a regular inspection, and then there's what's called a WDO, wood destroying organism. Now, that's wood rot and also termites. This house also had a septic system, so a septic inspection was ordered. Also, due to the age of the home being over 100 years old, and with the additions put on, a structural engineering report was ordered. The result? Lots and lots of surprises to both the buyer and the seller. First was the septic system. It failed, requiring at minimum an entire new cement septic tank. Uh-oh. The cost anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000. Secondly, extensive wood rot in the support beams that hold the house above the ground. This house was not put on a cement slab like is done on most of the houses today. It was built up so people could get underneath the house. Lots and lots of wood rot. Also, it had a sagging roof with evidence also of some house settling. Now, the seller is shocked by the magnitude of these items. By the way, there was lots of wood rot around the house as well with all of the wood siding. Not termites, but just wood rot, where lots of the house siding just was soft and mushy, meaning that a lot of the siding needed to be replaced. Now, nobody goes up to the side of their house and pushes on all the little, side to see that it needs it. So, here's the shocker. I know everybody was shocked about the magnitude of all of this stuff. Both the home inspector and the structure engineer discovered prior evidence of a fire in the attic, with many of the roof rafters being charred. Uh-oh. There was some evidence of the rafters being repaired, albeit arguably not correctly done. The previous fire was not mentioned on the seller's disclosure. Now, we want to mention that the fire occurred before the sellers purchased the home. So the fire may have occurred 20 years ago, 30 years ago, perhaps even 50 or 60 years ago. Our buyer, however, would certainly have liked to know about this prior to deciding to making an offer, and he still may have made the offer, but perhaps the offer may not have been as high. So what do both the buyers and sellers do now? Clearly, the seller needs to fix the items, whether or not this buyer still wants to buy the home. All of these items are repairable. Now, if this buyer buys, he wants to be sure that the repairs are done properly, especially the beams under the house and the ones in the attic. Also, a discussion must be made about any reduction in the value of a home that has had a fire. So here's what we want to discuss after the break. Should the fire have been disclosed? And what should the buyer or seller do now? Let's talk about that after the break. Interesting.
Very.
Because it's a beautiful home. The seller still wants to sell, and the buyer probably still wants to buy. Let's talk about that after break. We want your opinions. Call us after the break. We'll be right back.
Ed Dean, Mike Gallagher, Dennis Prager, The Savage Nation, Mark Levin, WBOB, AM 600 and FM 101.1. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump is pledging to destroy the violent MS-13 street gang and similar organizations. It's a pledge he made yesterday after visiting New York's Long Island, where gang violence has been a major problem, including some high-profile killings. The president naming Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly to be the new White House chief of staff. Reince Priebus has lost a job after 6 months. One of the judges who ruled that the FAA must now reconsider its role in the airline seat debate calls it the case of the incredible shrinking airline seat. The problem, say some in the courts, that those seats continue to get smaller, but many Americans continue to get a little bit bigger and hard to fit in those seats safely. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 34 points on Friday. On Monday, it opens up at 21,830. More details at srnnews.com.
My name is Erica, and I'm in the Life Builders program at City Rescue Mission. Before I was running into the law, I lost my friends, I lost the trust in my family. I just completely lost myself and who I was. I heard about City Rescue Mission from my family and felt the Lord was calling me to be in a better place. The core classes here teach us how to resolve conflicts in a healthy way. The classes and the amazing staff at City Rescue Mission have helped me overcome my wounds and help me find my true identity. The staff genuinely care. It's not just a job for them. They're there to walk alongside you the entire journey. I just want to take the tools City Rescue Mission has given me to live a normal life and hopefully help others.
I'm Penny Kiewit, Executive Director for the City Rescue Mission. Would you consider helping us make a difference as we provide hope, healing, and change to those who need it most? Visit us at crmjax.org. That's crmjax.org to learn more or to make a donation to help others who are hungry, homeless, and addicted.
July 31st marks the 60th anniversary of Boger Shoes on Park Street here in Jacksonville. It is truly remarkable that a family-owned business has had their doors open for that long. But there's one thing for sure. This milestone could not have been reached without the support of all their amazing customers. To help celebrate, through the end of July, Boger Shoes is giving their customers $19.57 off your purchase. And you may register to win a $150 gift certificate, no purchase necessary. On Monday, July 31st, the big day, not only will you receive your discount, you will also receive a free pair of socks with your purchase. Since 1957, good old-fashioned customer service has been the key to Boger Shoes' success. And they would like to express a huge thank you for being able to serve their customers for 60 years. And the entire staff at Boger Shoes look forward to serving you for many years to come. Stop by 1014 Park Street and help Boger Shoes celebrate this amazing milestone. Your feet will be glad you did. Some restrictions apply.
People hack, people get into the internet, people do things, people post fake news, people sit in their mama's basement in their boxer shorts, and they write stories about seeing John Kennedy at the Krispy Kreme next to Elvis. Big deal. She lost. Get over it. It's over. She lost.
Mike Gallagher. Weekday mornings at 9 on WBOB, AM 600 and FM 101.1. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? WBOB has the answer.
And there is a disabled vehicle at 95 South at the ramp to US 1. That vehicle is currently blocking the right lane, so watch out there. A little bit of rain in the offing all week long, 30% chance of that, but today mostly sunny, hot, kind of miserable with a heat index of 105. Your normal temperature 95, and that's hot enough, huh? It's currently 83 degrees at WBOB AM 600. The Answer.
Let's return to Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Welcome back, everybody. So excited to be here at Real Estate Radio. And we are having an interesting dialogue today, aren't we, Howard?
Yeah, we were talking before the break about this real inspection that was done this past week on a 100-year-old home.
Yes.
Where the seller, unbeknownst to the seller and the buyer, there were some serious problems with the home The septic tank needed to be replaced. We don't need to go into details of that, but it had an inspection, needed to be replaced. The beams holding up the house, many of them were rotted, and that needed to be...
Not rotted, termite damage, which happens on a lot of 100-year-old houses. There's either evidence of termite damage or powder post beetles. So,
and
not uncommon.
The wood siding had many places that were rotten, that needed to be replaced. And then there was evidence of a prior fire in the attic. And there was some evidence that some of the beams were, and I don't want to say covered up, but what they did was they took another beam and they partially nailed a beam next to it to support the fire damaged portion. So, and the engineer and the home inspector said they don't think that was done properly and it didn't go the length of the beam. So
that's the reason it wasn't done properly, because it's not attached to anything.
Right. It was attached to the charred portion of the beam. And the previous fire wasn't disclosed, even though the previous buyer knew about that. So,
meaning the current seller.
The current seller. Yeah. So here's the interesting question that we want to pose to everybody. We want everybody's opinion. There's a question on the seller's disclosure that says, is there anything else that you should disclose about the home that you think affects the value or desirability? And
so if you were the buyer, would you think that previously damaged rafters
due to a fire should have been disclosed? And even though it may have occurred 20, 30, 50, 60, who knows how many years ago?
Yeah, nobody knows. Actually.
Nobody knows. So we invite all our callers to call in. And by the way, there was a sagging part of the roof. There was evidence of some...
Not that same roof.
No, not that same roof. There was evidence of some structural settlement of the home. So all of this was a surprise.
House.
Not all of this, not the fire damage, but the other things were all a surprise to the seller. So at some point, the seller needs to fix these things in order to resell it. He has to disclose it to a prospective buyer if this particular buyer doesn't sell it. Now the buyer needs to determine, okay, do I want to still buy this place or not? Assuming all the things get fixed. But he made the offer based on the assumption that this was a perfect house. And even if all the things get fixed, the house still has a prior fire damage. So does the fact that a home has a prior fire damage, does that affect the overall value of the home? Because most of these other things can be fixed. You can fix the structural stuff. You can fix the beams under the house. You can fix the beams in the attic. You can fix the septic tank.
Everything can be fixed, yeah.
Yeah, virtually everything can be fixed. But does the fact that it had a fire make the home less valuable?
Well, and it's interesting, Howard, because value, you got two different meanings of value, right? Like what's an appraiser going to say versus what would a buyer think?
Well, an appraiser may not even aware of it because the appraiser doesn't go in the attic.
Normally, an appraiser doesn't go in the attic. But I'm saying just from a level of desirability, is there value that exists or value that, could be taken away?
Yeah.
Someone might say, oh, I don't want to own a house where the rafters had been on fire before. But I do want to say a couple of things about this. This is sort of what I learned because this is my first circumstance. Yes, with this. So I've been talking to a lot of people who are much smarter than me, trying to figure out what does it really mean. And a couple of engineers I talked to said, number one, it doesn't appear that the char is deep. Okay, so they measure how much of it's charred. The other thing is when homes were built back in 1913 and they used wood, it wasn't engineered wood like we have today. It was trunks of trees, right? So, it was real timber that was in one piece that came off a tree. It's going to be really strong. The other thing that I've learned is that you should be measuring each rafter at different places on the rafter, because fire is not an equal burn. Okay.
So if it's a quarter of an inch deep at one place, is it the charring? Is it a quarter of an inch deep 6 feet away?
Exactly. It could be different, right?
Away.
Because of fire and how it impacts it. So that would be interesting to know. So if the char is 1/8 of an inch thick, that's not a big deal, because the board, the rafter is so wide that 1/8 of an inch, even off both sides, is not enough to matter. But if it was a quarter of an inch off each side, then
that could be a lot.
Yes.
So we want everybody else's opinion. So call in with your comments at our number, of course.
222-TALK,
Yeah.
which is 8255, and that's area code 904. And there was one more thing I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
That I learned from a different engineer. And he said, when you build like a coal mine in Virginia, one of the things they do is they char the wood. They char the wood before they build the structure inside the mine. And they use these charred boards because if a fire were to occur, it's very difficult for a charred piece of wood to catch on fire. So they actually char them on purpose. So you don't want to do too much because you still want the strength of the board. But you do want to char it so it can't catch on fire. And I thought, this has been so interesting for me because I've learned so many new things about wood and burnt wood and charred wood. And I didn't know all this before this transaction.
Interesting stuff. So should the seller perhaps have done inspection on the house prior to putting on the market? Perhaps. Should the seller have disclosed about the prior damage if because he knew about it before he bought the house? Probably.
I think so.
It's a good thing the inspector caught all of these things, and that's why you should always get a qualified home inspector every time you purchase a house. So here's the question. Will you do a home inspection on your own home before putting it on the market so that you won't be surprised when the seller then does his own inspection?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think that's really good advice, actually.
Yeah.
I do. The other thing about saying whether or not this had, value, when you talk about value to the buyer, if a buyer read on the seller's property disclosure that there had been a previous fire and they had no idea when, but the house is still standing, the roof's been added since then. I mean, there's a lot of information that could have been disclosed to make them feel comfortable about it. But the problem is, if it's an issue that would bother a particular buyer, now the buyer has already spent about $2,000
on all these inspections. Yeah,
and he's kind of chapped about that because why? Because they could have just told him that, and it was an issue that was bothering him. So he would rather not spend $2,000 to find out something the seller already knew and didn't tell him.
He may not have bought the house.
He might not have made an offer.
He may have, but the offer may not have been at that high of a price.
Right.
So the seller should have probably disclosed
it. Absolutely. And the buyer then could have done some research beforehand, before he spent $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the important thing is all of these things are fixable. It was a shock to the seller, and he's going to have to spend a fair amount of money to get all of these things fixed.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is he's already moved out of the home. We got about a minute left, and we do have a caller. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to that caller, but we're going to ask that caller to stay on the line, and we'll get to that caller just as soon as we get back from the break. So we got about 30 seconds, and that was really an interesting story, and I hope this caller has a comment about that when we get back.
I do too.
So we're going to ask everybody to stay on the line, and anybody else has a question, they can call us again with that. By the way, before our show comes on, there's like a 10-minute break because the show before us is Ask an Attorney with Joe Pippin. So
oh my God, I love him. I listen to him every week.
Yeah, so we ask you to, tune in before our show at 8 o'clock, and you can ask an attorney and get some free legal advice on anything related to just about anything.
Yes.
Goes on the line. So anyway, stay with us, everybody. We will be right back to talk more about real estate with Angela and Howard. Stay with us, everybody. Good morning, WBOB listeners. It's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I want to thank you for tuning in with us for our 5th year now. It's been such a great pleasure to be on the radio with you, giving you advice on buying and selling, as well as answering your questions on the air. Thank you so much for the trust that you have in us as professional, experienced realtors with over 20 years of combined experience. We want you to know that when it's time to sell your home, we want to be your realtor. We will focus on your home, your family, and your time frame. Our team will customize a marketing plan to give you the best exposure to get you the best price and have the best selling experience possible. Whether it's a condo or a house, a short sale or a regular sale, a $200,000 home or a mansion, you will get the same great service. Call us at 421-7950 and join the multitudes of others that have experienced the Angela and Howard team advantage. There's finally a mortgage lender in Jacksonville that sees financing differently. With 20 years experience, CMG Financial understands that the most important purchase in your life, your home, deserves the right mortgage. Tim McConnell at CMG Financial will work to customize the best financing option for you. Angela and I recommend CMG Financial to all our customers. Give Tim a call at 528-2103. That's 528-2103. CMG Financial is a registered trade name of CMG Mortgage, Inc., NMLS number 1820, and licensed as a mortgage lender servicer by the Office of Financial Regulation, number MLD 375, individual MLS number 181046. One of the most critical parts of buying or selling your home is the very last process. That's the closing process. Angela and I recommend Watson Title Services. They have the experience to handle any issue that can come up, and there is never an upfront fee to the seller. Whether you are using a realtor with the sale of your home or not, always ask for Watson Title Service to handle your closing. We do. Call them at 461-3220. That's Watson Title Services.
Angela Walker and Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. not only come to you every Saturday morning, but they would also like to work with you when you need them the most. That is, when you need to buy or sell a home. They pride themselves in giving you their very best effort every day and in every way. There are many realtors in the First Coast to choose from. Let them show you the Howard and Angela team advantage. Call them at 421-7950 or email them at realestateradio@yahoo.com. This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Welcome back, everybody. So excited. We have George on the line.
Hey, good morning, George.
Yes, good morning, guys. I started as kind of an apprentice at 12 years old with my father, who rebuilt houses on the weekend.
Yes.
And then I became an engineer, worked in industry, occasionally came back to housing-type rebuilds, etc. And here's some tips. Number one, always put a thermometer in the attic. And on the hottest part of a good day, look and see what the temperature is. If it's 110 or less, it's probably not too bad. Your roof life and your rafter life will extend on out. But if it's 130 or so, watch out. You need more ventilation temporarily, and you need to consider putting a foam insulation on the roof on the outside to protect the rafters and the internals. Help your electric bill, etc.
You just lost me. Where do you put the foam?
On the outside. In other words, if you strip the roof completely, the best thing to do first is put a vinyl or asphalt layer, especially if you're on the east side of the 295 interstate. It's required for hurricane protection, for leaks. If the top roof leaks, and that layer underneath is going to hold up. Then you put the foam, and then you put a metal roof. That's the best way to do a house now. Now, the asphalt roofs will last, But if you have a very, very hot attic, it's going to deteriorate the asphalt roof more quickly than if you have, say, 110 degrees up there.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Second thing is you look at the electrical wiring, especially in the roof, and if they pulled it like rubber bands across the top of the rafters, watch out. It should be running along the rafters. They drill a hole, go through, where if people are up there working, they don't step on it. And you can just inspect the wiring, make sure everything's okay. And if you ever do any work, have anybody do any work, make sure they do it the right way, which is put right angles in. I always go one wire gauge up higher. It's actually a lower number, but a larger diameter when I put wiring in, especially if you're going to put a floor heater or something like that somewhere. You need to go maybe two gauges larger. And on piping, we've had a lot of problems here in Jacksonville with the cast iron pipes, and especially now if they're underneath a concrete pad. Ideally, if I were to build my own house now, I would use two plastic pipes, inner and outer, and so you can replace the inner pipe if it deteriorates, and then you don't get undermining of the house and leaks, etc. And the cast irons can be fixed. In industry, we used to line them. We had special equipment to spray in the same material that you have on the new white plastic pipes, which last a long time. But there are a lot of tricks, and it depends on how far you want to go past the basic standards. But certainly, you're absolutely right. You should have a home inspector come in and look and see if the house is in good shape according to current standards, and what does it really look like, the rafters and the pipes. And frankly, I would have a plumber put a camera down every drain pipe.
Oh, that's interesting.
And see what it looks like.
We got 1 minute left.
This All House guys do that occasionally on television. They show you that sometimes the pipe can sink. Maybe there are moles in there or something underneath, not mold, M-O-L-E-S, who've undermined it a little bit, and the pipe drops down a little bit, and it'll hold water, and therefore, in that area, it will corrode faster. And so you really need to get people that who are home inspectors who have some serious experience, and they know what they're doing, and
that have the equipment.
Yeah, they have the equipment. They can kind of predict what's going to happen. One thing I don't like about houses, what the houses are built, but they're all built that way, is no one paints the rafters and the inside of the wallboard.
George, I'm going to have to cut you off. Here's what I invite you to do. I invite you to call in next week and tell us some more important and informative things that you've got.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate that.
Don't go overboard, but get an inspector and do the right thing and see what's really there.
Thank you so much for calling in. Again, I invite you to call in next week and give us some more valuable information. I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's exciting because we have to do...
Yeah. Because we got a couple of open houses, especially that brand new house that came on the market yesterday. And it is, because we are going to be there this afternoon after the show. It's in Eagle Harbor. The address is 2264. Now, this is on a lake. It's a 5-bedroom, or you can make it a 6-bedroom. It's a 3.5 bath plus an office or a living room, and that's the room that could be turned into a 6-bedroom because it already has a closet. The house is 2,900 square feet. It has 10-foot ceilings. It was built in 99, but it's almost like brand new because so many upgrades. For example, air conditioning in 2014, baths in 2015 and 16, flooring in 2014, kitchen in 2013. Angela, you mentioned earlier about the soapstone cabinets and the pull-out shelves in the pantry, and it even had a new roof last week.
Oh, that's pretty recent.
That's pretty recent. Gorgeous built-in slate patio. There's a little fish pond in the patio. The price $375. Angela and I are going to be there
priced
today.
Really well, too.
It really is.
Yeah.
The house is just beautiful. Oh, the garage is extended. It's extra deep and extra wide. It's a 2.5-car garage. You can go to angelandhoward.com to get a little bit of information on it. It's also on Zillow and
but there's also
Realtor.com.
like a virtual tour on angelandhoward.com, so you can jump on the virtual tour and then you can see all the photos. We have like 77 photos on this house.
Yeah. So
it's
we're going to be there today from noon to 2. So come and see the house. Come and meet us. We want to meet some of our listeners. So that's the first one that we have an open house at. So, Angela, you want to talk about the other one? We have Daniel's Landing open.
So Daniel's Landing is in Eagle Harbor also. And it is a gorgeous colonial, very charming, over 4,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, high ceilings, totally custom-built home, built by Rosewood, big double front door, 3-car garage. One of the bays is 26 feet deep. You can put a boat in there. You could put your car plus a golf cart in there. There's a computer nook, a bonus room. There's upstairs has a bedroom with its own bathroom up there. And on the other side of the house, that bonus is also up there. So that's kind of a cool place for teenagers to hang out or guests, if you'd like. Big screen rear porch, which overlooks a quaint, very private rear yard. It's a huge family room with built-ins. You just never run out of cabinet space in the kitchen. There's a ton of it. There's a gorgeous wood staircase. And this is also value priced at $499.9, which is truly below market value.
It is. It's priced at $125 a foot, which is the cheapest price per square foot in that community. However, you want to know what the however is?
What?
He said, I want to sell, make me an offer.
That's right.
So it's off of Lakeshore Drive. It's open today also from 11 to 2.
That's correct.
And we have one more open house. It's open tomorrow also on the west side in Oakleaf. This is one that we sold on the very first day about 3 weeks ago, and the buyer pulled out.
Yes,
Not for anything wrong with the house.
Nope.
But they decided that they didn't want it because of a French drain. They decided, I don't want a house with a French drain. Why? I don't know, but that's what they did.
Because every house in there has a French drain in that neighborhood.
So. 3,100 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 bath, 4-way split. That means that the bedrooms are in 4 different places, 3-car garage, new carpet, new paint. The pantry is 10 feet long. Large lanai, only $325. This is unbelievable.
This is another one that is considered under market value. It could be more like $350.
Yeah.
So,
It had 3 offers previously.
It did.
And it went above asking price before.
Yes.
So this one's going to go quick. It's open Sunday from 11 to 2.
Correct.
All right. So we also have, and I can't believe this one hasn't sold yet. It's not open today, but of course we can arrange to show it to you. It's also on the west side in Orange Park, Village Way, just off of Kingsley, a vintage 1980s home with 2,300 square feet, huge family room, and a hot tub in the enclosed big Florida room. How about that?
Yep. There's also that property at 8271 Hedgewood Drive. That's priced at $369 in gated community of Ironwood. And there's 100 La Mesa that's in Palencia. That's priced at $525. That's also a great value, below market value.
Hey, folks, if you need to talk to us, call us after the show at 421-7950. You do need a professional on your side. That's us. You know, that's whether you're buying or selling. The Van Wees are here. They're going to tell you about what's gone on in the financial sector around Jacksonville and the country this week. So stay tuned for them. God bless everybody. Have a wonderful week. We're going to be back with you live next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.